All right, in the interest of everyone's time, we'll go ahead and get started. This webinar is being recorded. Hello and welcome to our eBanking Safety and Security webinar. This is brought to you by Northwest Financial Wellness Series. My name is Denise Kitchen, your host, and I'm a relationship manager for the company partner program. Our department manages the partnerships that the credit union has with organizations so that they can offer credit union membership as part of their benefits package to their employees, members, and volunteers. And this program is absolutely free. That's the beauty of it. First off, thank you so much again for your interest in our webinar today. It's rainy in Virginia today, so I hope it's not like that where you are, but hopefully it'll get a little bit better later on. I'd like to go over some housekeeping. Everyone is muted because of the number of participants, and we ask that you hold your questions until the end of the presentation and ask them via the chat feature when we get to the Q&A session. You can find that feature at the bottom of your screen. For any questions that we don't get to address today, my email address will be in the chat so that you can feel free to email me later on, and I'll be sure to get you the answers to your questions. Also, we'll be raffling off a $25 Visa gift card after our Q&A session, so please make sure you stay tuned until the very end. Now, without further ado, I'd like to introduce Kedrick Edwards, our security administrator, Christy Airy, our manager of fraud mitigation, and Matt Owens, our AVP of business applications. And I will hand over the mic to Kedrick. Go ahead and take us away.
Thanks, Denise. Appreciate that. And real quick, I will need access to the video if you want to make me a co-host real quick.
Did that work?
All right. Sure did.
Okay, awesome.
Hey, thank you so much. Appreciate it. So thanks for the introduction, Denise. So the purpose of this webinar is to answer a few questions. Why is e-banking security so important? What is Northwest Federal doing to secure e-banking? And what can you do to improve your account security even further? We participate in securing our homes and cars, and taking time to strengthen our e-banking security is also important. Fraud, scams, and security breaches are rampant and show no signs of slowing down, despite valiant actions by government agencies around the world. Criminals often attempt to use breach passwords against financial websites. Finally, security recommendations change as we understand the attacks better. We work hard to strike a balance between security and convenience. With the information presented in this presentation, you'll better understand the options for setting your security controls on your account that best fit your needs. Matt, can you tell us more about these controls?
Hey, yes, thanks, Kedrick. So I'd like to talk about what are some of the things that Northwest is doing to secure your e-banking experience. So going down the list here, you can see that we use device and geolocation awareness. And if you're not familiar with those terms, essentially, devices have their own unique identifier, and we use that identifier to ensure that you're logging in from the devices that you normally log in from. And geolocation is really, if you live in, let's say, California, and you're always logging in from California, well, if we see a login coming from, I don't know, let's say South America or Texas or somewhere else, that gives us a clue that something might not be expected there. So those are some ways that we can kind of get in front of those unwanted accesses. We also offer multi-factor authentication, and we'll kind of dive a little bit into that in just a second here. We also leverage CAPTCHAs for login and high-risk transactions. We offer security alerts, which are some of my favorite things to do when I was setting up my account. And additionally, we have a card security app that members can download, and it's separate from the online banking app, and this gives you a lot of control over your debit and credit cards. So if Frederick, you can go to the next slide, please. All right, so enabling multi-factor authentication for transactions is really your best defense. It's a really beefy layer of security you can add to your e-banking application. Even if your password's compromised, the attacker would need your phone or your email. They need to be able to intercept that second layer, that second code that's sent to you in order to get access to your account. So in setting up multi-factor authentication is really easy. You can do it in less than a minute. And once you do it and you set up what you want to do, you really kind of set it, forget it. And it's great to peace of mind. Here you can see it's really easy. You log into either the desktop or your mobile app, And under the settings tab, there's a security section. And from there, you can enable your two-factor authentication by just checking off a button. Here, you'll see that you can require two-factor authentication for each login. I personally use this myself just as an extra layer. That way, because I feel like, it's the front door to your house, right? So you want to make sure that you are always double checking that it's the right person getting in there. And if you go to the next slide, Kendrick, you can kind of see we've got some ways for you to leverage that multi-factor authentication. So we give you the ability to send it through email. We can use SMS text. We can do voice calls. We offer soft tokens. And recently, we just added the two-factor authentication applications that are really popular. So you'll see like Google Authenticator, Microsoft Authenticator, Authy, and Duo. So those are now available. We recently added those. And those are all great ways to really beef up the security on your account. Next is my, I guess, maybe the second favorite. MFA is probably my favorite, but I love security alerts. And you can set up alerts for just about anything inside of our eBanking platform. And I think it's a great way to track both behavior that you expect to see and behavior that you don't expect. For example, you can set up an alert to say, send you an email or push notification every time your account is accessed. You can, if you don't want to do that, you can set it up for any time you get certain types of transactions, or maybe make a mobile deposit or types of transfers. So for example, if, let's say you expect to get your payroll maybe every month or every 2 weeks, right? So you might want to set up an alert that says, hey, your direct deposit went in. And so that's just another, yep, you don't have to, no action required on your end, but it's just another way to validate that behavior is moving forward as you expect. I have one for checks cleared on my account, right? Because I still have my original checkbook from 2004 when I joined the credit union. I don't write very many checks. So I have an alert that says, hey, if a check is cleared, I want to know about it because that's something that I probably won't be doing. And so if a check's clearing, that gives me a chance to contact the credit union and get ahead of that before it becomes a major problem there. So you can set up kind of alerts for all kinds of things. And if you go to the next slide, Kendrick, oh, you're already there. Sorry, I bet. You're already there. If you go back, you can set up, you can drill down to deposits that are exactly an amount, over an amount, and you can kind of really get granular there. So it's really, world is your oyster when it comes to setting up alerts. You can get those alerts. The push notification actually goes right to the app on your phone, and it'll kind of push there. Otherwise, you can get an email to set up that alert. And if we go down to the next slide, we'll talk about card security. If you look for the Card Control Plus app on the Apple Store or the Google Play Store, you can download that. And this gives you the ability to turn your debit and credit cards on or off, really on a whim. So let's say you have a debit card that you don't use often, you can keep that debit card turned off, until you're ready to use the transaction in real time. So you can go to the store, turn it on right before you go to the cashier, swipe the card and turn it back off when you're done. And it really gives you a level of control there if you want to, really protect, the card and make sure that no one can use it when you're not ready to use it. You can also receive transaction alerts within that app to track card activity. And you can also set up travel memos. So if you're going to be traveling around or out of the country, you can clearly set those up within the app and you don't have to worry about contacting the credit union. Just kind of something that you can do as a self-service option and to reduce friction on trying to get those things set up. But that's just about it. I'm going to hand it over to Kendrick to talk about passwords.
Thanks, Matt. So we do have a few tips on creating stronger passwords based on recent information from security researchers and law enforcement agencies. Please create a strong password different than any other password you've used. Please don't use your Facebook or email password for your eBanking password. 10 to 15 characters is our recommended minimum length for a secure password based on current computing standards. Each character added secures the password significantly. Please use passphrases instead of words to make them harder to break. Automated password tools try to crack the entirety of the password instead of individual characters. Using passphrases can make passwords longer, which makes them more secure. If they can paint a mental picture, it's way easier to remember. Please avoid dates and words people who know you could guess. Also consider if there's anything on your social media accounts that might give the password away. This includes children's birthdays, anniversary dates, pet names, and please never use the word password. Sorry, substituting numbers for letters is no longer enough to secure passwords. Length is the best way to secure them now. They need to be changed often. If your password's over 5 years old and it's been used in more than one place, it's possible to have been compromised at some point. Please don't place them anywhere they can be seen by eyes that don't need to. Writing down complicated passwords is risky. Remembering funny passphrases is a better way. They shouldn't be shared amongst multiple people. You can share documents electronically without sharing accounts. Keep them confidential. They should be one of your most closely guarded secrets. IT people, managers, and unfortunately even some family members shouldn't be trusted with them. Knowing how you created one password could help them guess another. Please avoid writing passwords on sticky notes. They're like little golden nuggets for hackers if they want to look through your trash. And finally, please remember, Northwest Federal will never ask for your password. This talks a bit about a difficult password with substitutions above versus a passphrase with common words below. Again, the key to a more secure password is adding length as it's stored as a whole. The caption states, through 20 years of effort, we've successfully trained everyone to use passwords that are hard for humans to remember, but easy for computers to guess. All these things I've described are much better secured if you add multi-factor authentication, even if your password's used somewhere else and compromised. Multi-factor authentication will help you to secure your account here at Northwest Federal Credit Union from being accessed. Christy, can you tell us a little bit more about fraud prevention?
Happy to do so, Kedrick. Thank you. Our website, nwfc.org, has great information on fraud prevention. One of the easiest ways to get to that page, that particular page, is to search. Use the search feature and type in fraud prevention, and that will get you there. I do want to take an opportunity at this time to talk specifically about scams and reiterate what Kedrick had already shared. No one at Northwest Federal Credit Union will ask for your eBanking password or the multi-factor code. So if you are asked, discontinue the conversation and report your experience to the credit union. In addition, 2 more scam prevention tips that I highly recommend. If you are being pressured or requested to pay a penalty, a fee, an invoice, or any other unexpected cost with a gift card, stop. Take time to research it, find out if it's really legitimate or not. And the best piece of advice I have is if you are getting a call and you don't recognize that phone number, don't answer. Once a fraudster or scammer gets you on the phone, they'll do whatever they can to keep you engaged. So if you don't answer, and it's important, the caller will leave a message and then you can choose to respond or not. Next slide, if you would, Kedrick. Additional resources, protect your credit report. Annualcreditreport.com is truly free and is offering weekly reports for each of the 3 bureaus. You can take advantage of reviewing your credit reports much more frequently than just the annual, so I highly recommend it. I've tested it. It definitely works. There's also information about what's the difference between a fraud alert or a credit freeze. So that's also described on that site. Again, annualcreditreport.com. And if you think there is an error or if there's possible fraud on your credit report, the dispute process is also explained. Each of the 3 bureaus offers the directions on how to correct issues. Thank you. Okay, next slide, Kedrick. And if you are a victim of ID theft, report it as soon as possible. You have several sources to report: your local police department, the Federal Trade Commission has a great site for reporting. And then when you do, please keep track of your records, including who you talked to, if you did talk to someone, and when. And then be sure to let Northwest know as well. we offer a verbal password that you can place on your account. So when you come into a branch or you call, we'll ask you for that password before taking any action. Again, setting up those e-banking alerts and that card app are two sources just to keep track of what's going on in your account. And as always, any concerns, contact NWFC for assistance. You can call us. You can visit a branch, use our e-banking messaging service, or see the NWFCU fraud prevention page for directions on how to report your concern. And with that, Denise, it's all yours for any questions.
Awesome. Thank you guys so much for all that wonderful information. We don't have a lot of people on, but if anybody has any questions, please feel free to use the Q&A feature that's on the bottom of your screen. Should be right near the polls, and go ahead and pose your questions. One of the questions, I guess, that I have is, so if I were as a Northwest member, I was to experience somebody calling me, and I actually did have that happen over Halloween. We were at a Halloween party, and I received a phone call from somebody who claimed they were from Northwest, asked me all of these questions, and even confirmed some transactions I had on my account, and then was trying to get me to tell them what my password was. Of course, knowing that Northwest nor any other financial institution really that you do business with will ask you what your password is ever. I knew this was a hoax, but they were very good. I will tell you this. So I almost believed them until they asked me what my password was. So I didn't give them that information. We hung up. But if something, and I did not report this to Northwest. So who at Northwest would I contact? Would I just call our normal phone number that goes to our member service center, or go to a branch? What would be the best way to notify Northwest of something like this?
Sure. Thanks for asking, Denise. Absolutely. The phone call is certainly an option to our call center or our e-services team. Visiting the branch, anywhere where you can share your information, even if you use the e-banking messaging, we will be back in touch. And often we learn, if you will, what the fraudsters or scammers are doing. So we really do like that conversation, and we can discuss at that point how else you can protect your account.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that, Christy. We do have a question from a participant. What is a security token regarding two-factor authentication? Who wants to take that one?
Oh, I can take that one. So the token is, we partner with Entrust, and you can sign up. Essentially, it's a soft token, and it has a number that's essentially just generating, and it cycles. And you can download an app through that token, and it allows you to put it on your phone. And so when you're logging into online banking, you can use that as another layer. So it's another option that you have. Similar to the Google Authenticator and the Microsoft Authenticator. It's similar behavior, just a kind of different method.
Gotcha. Cynthia, I hope that answers your question. We have another question. Is it still a good idea to only use one browser for financial and another one for other things such as Facebook?
Yeah, great question. The short answer is yes. And the reason for that is there are still some attacks that if you find something malicious on Facebook, that you are better protected, not 100% protected, but better protected if you use a separate browser for your financial institution. So yes.
Awesome questions. Thank you, guys. Anyone else have any questions at this point? I think we're good. I'm going to put my email in the chat so that you can go ahead and write that down. And if you come up with any questions after the fact, I'll be more than happy to direct them to our panel of experts to see who could answer that for you, and I will get that to you. Now it is time for our raffle question. So thank you guys so much for hanging in there with us throughout the presentation. The raffle question we have for you today is, how do you turn on multi-factor authentication with Northwest? We talked about that a lot, and this was one of the pieces of information that Matt shared with us. And there's a couple of correct answers. So open up your chat, get your typing fingers ready, and whoever gets this question correct is the first one to answer it correctly will get the $25 Visa gift card. Again, how do you turn on multi-factor authentication? And I understand that it's the same for our app as well as online banking. Anybody have the answer of that question for us? Are you finding the chat feature on the bottom? Getting your typing fingers ready? We have one on Q&A. Let me see. Chat is disabled. All right, hold on. Then you know what? Use the Q&A feature. If you know the answer, go ahead and type it in there. That should work too. Yes, Cynthia, you're our winner. Ding, 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 ding. So she said settings and security. So you go to tools, settings, and security. That is how you get to turn on multi-factor authentication, which is a very, very hard word for me to say. Cynthia, I have your email from your registration, so I will contact you for your mailing address, and I'll get that card out to you. That is all we have today, guys. Let me see if we ended up getting any more questions. Okay, I think we're good on the questions. Thank you again for your attention, everyone, and for logging in. Again, this will be recorded. I put that in the chat earlier, and I will send the link out to the recording to everyone who's registered so that you have a chance to view this again. All right, and again, if you come up with any other questions, just email me and I'll be happy to help you out. Thank you guys so much. Thank you to my panelists, and you guys have a great rest of your afternoon.